Is Jesi Smith in the room? Sure. We're gonna move you ahead to the agenda. I know you have a child, and really appreciate you being here. And
we're rowdy, so this is a good idea.
so.
Sorry, my driving skills aren't very good either. So.
Well, we really appreciate you taking the time to come here today.
Really, it's a gift for us to be here. My name's Jesi Smith. This is my daughter Faith. She's 10 years old. I have 5 children. She's the youngest. I'm an advocate for disabled children. And actually, just off the cuff, you guys have at Nationwide one of the most brilliant cardiac surgeons that we have sent several of families that have children like my daughter Faith. So my love for that institution and for the state is profound. But I know hundreds of families with children like my daughter Faith, and I'm here because my daughter and those children cannot speak for themselves. I encourage you to pass the heartbeat bill and to protect the lives of disabled children without exception. Children with disability should have equal protection under every law. And so my daughter was diagnosed with what they called a fatal fetal anomaly. It was just through routine testing. It was through an ultrasound. Soft signs were found. And we were told she had trisomy 18. It was a chromosome abnormality. So if you know Down syndrome, they have too many of the 21st chromosomes. Edwards syndrome is considered, in fact, in some of the books, it will say like fatal fetal anomaly or incompatible with life. We were told even if Faith lived to a year, that her life would destroy my marriage, would destroy my older children, and would destroy my finances. 3 times within a half an hour, we got the heavy hand to abort because she had disability. In 10 years, working with other families, we're trying to find them doctors who will even treat their children. This is a very typical story of mine. I mean, really, in the 10 years, I think there's one family I've walked into that said, I haven't had a problem with anybody. We've been to birthday parties, the zoo, we go to the park with scores of kids like my daughter, Faith. She has a valuable life. I hate going into a doctor's office and saying my daughter has equal humanity. And it scares me that bills can be passed that would exclude my daughter from protection under the law. So part of this is medicine is not an exact science. Doctors in the medical field have been our biggest advocates and some of our hardest obstacles. It's not an exact science because trisomy 18 is what she has. Fatal fetal anomaly, well, she's no longer fetal. It wasn't fatal, and she's living. Prenatal tests have become search and destroy missions for children just like mine. I really would like you to look at my daughter just because she's alive. I'm the happiest person in this room because my daughter is alive. And I was told she wouldn't even live to a first birthday. Any identifiable problem in the womb is being used to get rid of children like mine. And over 90% of children that have trisomy 18 are aborted. No wonder I can't find a doctor to treat. They've not even seen children like her. And we talk about any society that has 10% of its people wiped out. Famine, war, disease, whatever. We say that society is decimated. What about the 90% of children like my daughter? What word do I have? It's not a decimation, it's a genocide. A genocide of disabled children because they're unwanted by society. And let me tell you, even if I hadn't wanted my daughter, she's a valuable human being. She deserves to live. So the medical guesses that we have, calling children in the womb with prenatal tests a fatal fetal anomaly, is a medical guess at best. And at worst, it just singles out a disabled child for destruction. A doctor who can say, your child has a medical problem, that medical problem is incurable, and I can take their life over it, has now become the judge, the jury, and the executioner. And somebody had said, who's going to watch the watchers? Yes, who's going to watch those doctors who are identifying my daughter and don't want her in society and won't treat her? And so I do plead with this group, as I do with every one of Faith's doctors. Don't be in the business of destroying lives, be in the business of saving them. Good government, like good medicine, should protect the lives of the vulnerable, of which my daughter is supreme. I mean, go out today after this, go in your grocery store, wherever you go. How many children like Faith are you seeing? They're gone. Does nobody care? They're being wiped out. And so I just want to say that killing the sick is a horrific and appalling policy, whether in government or in medicine. These are people that need help, inside and outside of the womb. And this is why I'm here, if some powerful interest group comes. I'm not powerful, I'm at home or in a hospital most of the time, to be quite honest. If they come demanding that you get rid of the fatal fetal anomalies, know that exactly the type of child they're looking at is my daughter. Where am I going to go if my government and my doctors won't treat with the law and with medicine my daughter? Children like Faith, you guys may know Lou Gehrig. Remember that bucket challenge we had a couple years ago? He gives one of the most brilliant speeches I've ever heard. It's like 2 seconds, which makes it even more brilliant. But he said, I may have had a tough break, but I got a lot to live for. My daughter and children like her, that they are calling fatal fetal anomalies, may have had a tough break, but they've got a lot to live for. She is content. She is happy. She loves her life. And I love it. So I'm urging you to pass this bill without exceptions. And help me keep my faith and every child like her alive. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. I don't know if I wait for questions or do you want me to go?
Jesi, thank you so much. That's a very powerful testimony. Is there any questions any representative may have? Go ahead, Representative Wood.
Chairman, thank you. I know it's hard to see me over here. She's gorgeous.
Thank you.
And I actually am a speech and language pathologist by trade, and I
Oh,
was
so you get it.
Yeah. So I want to thank you for coming in and sharing your story.
Thank you.
And I also want to just say that I'm grateful that you had the choice, that personal choice to make, that was your personal choice and you made it. And thank you for bringing her for us to meet today.
I'm glad my daughter's alive to make her own choices too.
Representative Kleitz.
Hi, thank you so much for coming in, and my passion is going to come out on this because I too have a child that has a genetic disorder, and I've worked around children with developmental disabilities for over 10 years now, and I've also worked on behalf of Families Voices in the Ethics Committee at Akron Children's Hospital. And I think that the fortunate thing for my family, and I hope for yours too, is that you were able to maneuver a lot of the needs that you had as a family with a child with special health care needs. That is unfortunately not the case for a lot of families. So as an example, I've worked on behalf of families who don't have vehicles. And so when they have 3 children already at home, and then in 24 weeks they find out that their child will be dependent on hospitals and dependent on nurses, it's a very difficult decision. And I think we can both agree it's not an easy decision to make, to knowingly go into those situations.
Having children is never an easy decision.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, when you're looking at, you said you have multiple children too. So I guess my question to you is, do you at least offer the opinion that it is a very difficult road right now for those of us who live mostly dependent on medical care to make a decision when you know that that decision is not going to just impact that one life, but all the lives in your family?
It was an easy decision because my daughter has intrinsic value outside of me, outside of any choice I make. She's a human being with intrinsic value as a human being. So what do I do but do what I do for any of my other kids? Feed them, take them places. In fact, sometimes the older kids with this nation is rocking and reeling with kids that are physically fine but are committing suicide. There's all kinds of problems with children. Hers are just obvious. I think every child has their own special need, and because hers is obvious, sometimes it's easier to deal with than a child that has something where they're depressed. And so yes, this can be difficult. Yes, depression in a kid can be difficult. Yes, a child getting into college and filling out, God help us, the FAFSA form online is very difficult. I know, I've just done it. And so I think every child has their special needs. It's just hers is obvious. And it didn't take away any of her worth. It didn't take away any of her value. And I will do what I would do for my 4 older kids, which is everything possible for my daughter.
Thank you again for coming
Thank
in.
you.
Thank you, Chairman.
Ms. Smith, thank you so much for coming today, and I would like to address your daughter, Faith Smith. And if the Ohio Channel could pan to recognize Faith, I think that would be helpful if they could manage to do that. Faith, thank you so much for coming here today with your mom. I appreciate you taking the time to do that. You have a beautiful smile. You're a beautiful little girl, and we really appreciate you being here today. You and your mom have some of the most powerful testimony that this House has heard. And as the chairman of the Health Committee, I just want to recognize you here today and thank you so much for coming and giving your position on this important bill. So, Faith, thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Next, we have for proponent testimony, Janet Porter.
I don't know how you follow that.